Hi you guys, this is Jules. I have a project that I want to share with you. I also want to make the project. So I just made this card for a friend. I'm going to send it out to, actually I'm sending it to Mary Jane with her goodies. I just finished her, the graphic 45 clothespin, and I already packaged it up. I just got to put her card in there. And so I made her a card while the video was uploading. And this is the card that I'm going to send to her. I get intimidated when it comes to cards, and I know a lot of you guys feel the same way. One of my biggest inspirations to help me get my mojo going is to look in my Stamper Sampler magazines. There's awesome cards in there. You guys really have to pick one up if you haven't yet. It is by Stamping Tin and Company, just one of their publications. They have tons and tons. But for cards, I always go to my Stamper Sampler or a couple of different people on YouTube. But anyways, I yanked a book out and was looking through it. Sit down, Charlie. Sit down. So I'm going to show you how to do this really quick. Oh, stop. So what I did is I have some Mariposa paper and I set it back for the background. I used a Martha Stewart punch for the lace. That's working as my lace because I really can't do anything without lace. So that's going to work as my lace. Vintage paper, and by accident this happened. I went and pulled this stamp out, and I had that this page sitting here, or a piece of it. I just tore it, and it said portraits on it, so I went ahead and used it. I thought it was really pretty. I used some of my glimmer mist and stuff, and some punches, and jute twine, and a dollar stamp, which is what the congratulations is for. And I really like it. It's simple. Now the size for this card is a 4.5 by 4.5. And so let me move this out of the way, and then I can make the card. I'm going to use a different color paper. I'm not going to do the pinkish with the red. I'm going to do something green with craft. So I went ahead and cut this down to that same size, and I scored it with my bone folder and my little trimmer, my favorite trimmer. Now this is the top part of the surface of the paper that I actually did the markings with the bone folder. And what you're supposed to do is, what they tell us to do is to fold in where the mountain is. So you see the lift, it's like I pressed it from here, so it's sticking out that way. You can kind of see it there. So we're supposed to fold into it, okay? So just that you guys know, if you didn't know already. So I'm going to go ahead and press it down. Next thing I'm going to do is, you can either use your corner chomper, or if you have one of these little gadgets, you can do that just to round your corners off. So, oh, grab the wrong tool. When it comes to cards, because this craft paper is really thick, I normally just use this for scrapbook paper, and then for cardstock, I do use my corner chomper. I'm going to use my oops, sorry, geez. I'm going to use the 1/2 inch side. And normally this is what they look like. So you open it up, and then you set your corner in there and let it line up on this side and on this plate. And then you let it chomp your paper. There you go. You close it and set it aside for now. And then what I have been doing is distressing a lot of my paper, but I'm not going to distress the card. I'm going to leave it as is. I just noticed there's a little bit of, sometimes it misses little bits, which is not a big deal. You just trim it off. I think this is an old My Mind's Eye paper. I can't remember. It was just in my scrap box. So I cut it down to the size that I needed, and I went about a 1/4 inch, well, a 1/2 inch total. So if this is like 4.5, I cut this down to like 4 by 4. Actually, I think it's off because one side is like a little bit more, but it doesn't matter, whatever. It fits fine in here, and that's what I'm going to use. So on the card, I just rounded that side, and I didn't round this side. And as you can tell here, with this lace punch, I took it all the way up to the top, past the mat. Okay, same with the bottom part. The mat is this part here, which is like the base part, or the top part of your card. This is the base, I guess. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I think this one is a 1/2 inch as well. Yeah, with a little punch. Oops. Little match right there. And so I'm going to use that for that side. Actually, no, I'm using the other side. I'm going to use this side for there, and then I'm going to use this side to cut my lace out, or the punch. So I'm going to use this big Martha Stewart lattice punch. Really pretty. So you can kind of start wherever. I tend to line it up just because I'm picky like that. So when you do that, and the reason why they have these newbies is because you need to line it up. When you've already made your punch, you line up what you've already punched out with with the template that's there. And then when you punch down again, it will, oops, see, and I missed a little piece, but it'll cut right now. I'm gonna put it back in there and re-punch. And it should be fine, see? And then I'm just gonna get my one strip down. Okay, so I don't need a whole bunch of it. So I'm gonna cut that piece off. And there's my punch. See, it leaves all the little stuff behind. And what I'm also going to do is use this same color for what is the corners, photo corners for this card here. So I'm just going to use this little piece down here, a little scrap. And I'm not going to do all 4 corners. I'm just going to do that little piece. And then I'm going to stamp my image using bundled sage. So I'm just basically doing a tone on tone. And that just means same colors. And here's my stamp. She's so pretty. So I'm just going to ink her up real quick. Get her all nice and covered there. And then stamp her. Let me see if that'll fit. That won't fit there. No. Okay. So I'll just stamp her down here. And there she is. So it's just basically putting some of the darker green or another shade of green onto the same color, kind of a green. So it just has a vintage look to it. More of a vintage look to it, especially. Tone on tone just really gives it a nice feel. And it's still wet. The Tim Holtz distressings tend to stay wet a little bit longer than your typical dyes, because you can do a lot of things with these inks. Okay, I'm just gonna leave her like that. Move all my little pieces out of the way. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up a little bit of the base, the bottom part of this part. Actually, before I ink it, I need to distress it. So I'm going to use my tool here. And distressing, just going to rough up the edges a little bit. Give me a second. And I think I've shown this before when I've done it on other projects using the distress tool. And I'll show you another little piece here, just in case there's a newbie watching and doesn't know what I'm doing, because you never know. Okay, so what distressing is there's like razor blades in between the little nooks there, and you want to sit it on top of the paper, and then you just run it over the edge of your paper, and then it just roughs it up. See that? That's what it does. So you'll have all this little snow, paper snow, flying everywhere. So when I do that, it just kind of opens up the fibers a lot easier for me to ink. And I'm going to use a vintage photo. And this is going to just contrast really well because the base of the card is cardstock. So it'll leave a really, really nice pop, I guess, too. Now, I've noticed some people that make cards and some other layouts and stuff, sometimes they do distress the edges of the paper, but sometimes they don't ink it up. And it looks nice like that, too. Just depends on what it is that you want it to look like. so not a big deal. Okay, so that one's done. And I'm also going to distress her a little bit. Now that it's probably a little bit more dry than what it was a second ago. And you can see the white of the paper, the center part of the paper. I like being able to do the projects and record them because sometimes it teaches somebody something that they didn't know before, or like for new people, it's a nice tool. And I don't always have the privilege to be able to do it. I always have to run through the editing, but I like doing that. And if it gets a little bit wrinkled up, it doesn't matter, because I mean the look that you're kind of going for is a distressed look anyways. So I just kind of rolling it like a tortilla. And I'll just run a little bit of ink there so that it looks aged. And I'll also run a little bit of ink on top of her, but on the edges I would like to also run it on top of here so it's not so stark white, just to give it a little bit of color onto the corners. Oops. And a little bit on here. Now I'm doing it really lightly, so it's not showing a whole lot, but it's just toning down the white a little bit. And then a little bit on the lattice. Now I'm going really soft because I don't want to tear it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear some more vintage paper to run down the center of this piece here. So now with the craft paper, I'm going to use the Bundle Sage because it's already brown. So I'm going to use the Bundle Sage Distress Ink. And I'm just going to pounce it all along the edges so that it has that green. It's the same green that stamp that I used for the stamp. I have to go get my girls from school. As soon as I'm done here, I have to go and get them. If you guys have any questions, if I forget to mention that what I'm using, let me know. I'll let you know what it is that I use. So I'm just kind of giving kind of a little pop of color. You see that? I love doing the edges of papers and stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that out for just a second, but here's the vintage paper, and I couldn't find another one that said portraits. So and, I was like, man, because I really wanted to try and use something that said portraits again, because there's a vintage photo of the girl. So I just want to make sure this is like long enough where it's not going to cover the punch. And why am I using vintage paper? You know what? I just love vintage paper. I really like using it on a lot of different stuff. So that's fine. That's going to run like that. And this is just going to be discarded. The edges are. Okay. So what I'm going to do is use a little bit of the green. Just to add a tiny bit of color. Now, vintage paper is so thin and delicate, you can tear it with dropping it and picking it up, because I've done that before. I'm also going to grab some of that paper and do a couple of punch outs. Three, 4, 5, 6. If you don't have any of these kinds of punches for flowers, you can always use buttons for embellishments. It's not a big deal. You can use whatever you have on hand, really. So I'm just running a little bit of the vintage photo on top of the flowers. Just like I was toning down this piece, I'm doing the same thing. So okay, so I have an ATG gun that I'm going to go ahead and run on this side here. Actually this side, because that's not distressed. And then lay it on top of that punch. So just be careful not to tear it. And there that is. Let me get this bottom piece because I don't know what I'm gonna. I need to make sure that I got good coverage. Oops. I did glimmer mist the other card, and I do have glimmer mist here. Actually, I'm just going to throw it on top of this and this. I'm going to do the pearl, and while it dries I'll finish up with the flowers at least. So I'm going to throw it in my box and glimmer mist. I just do a light mist real quick and then show you guys how to assemble the card. It'll leave a nice little shine to it. I flatten it out so I can get it upside down. And you don't have to glimmer mist it. I just do just because I like the glimmer mist. So that'll go there. I'm going to go ahead and attach this to it first. And then I did the twine. So I'm going to grab my ATG again and do the back side of that. I can't remember who I heard say, but someone was saying, like, you see the tape back behind it, and you can just use your finger and roll it or pull it down so it's like behind where it's supposed to be. And that's just an easier way to get that tucked in. So now you don't really see it. I see a little piece right there. Yep, now you don't really see too much of it. Yeah, you don't see any of it. Okay, so you can just tuck it down. I'm going to go all the way down kind of to the edge. You can tuck it back there if you want to on the back side, but I don't want the bulkiness back there. I'm already going to have the twine sitting back there. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that yet because I'm supposed to not cut it off of this. So the twine that I use is a packaging twine. It's this one here. I don't need it that much. Okay, so just cut a little bit off, like about 8 inches of it, and I'm going to tuck about that much back there. So I'm going to cut that piece off, and this one I'm just going to make a quick little bow. And it's going to be kind of a small bow, I guess. Okay, and then cut that off, and I'm going to use that piece right there. And then with this, I'm going to use it back under here before I put the girl down. And yeah, that should work right there. So tucking it back there is not no big deal. I use some Scotch tape and fold it down and then tack it down with the tape. And then Same thing with that side. And if it's too long, like, you know, you can always just go and do a little snip in there. Okay, and there's that piece there. Okay, now to the card. ATG. I'm just gonna glue or add some adhesive to the back all the way. I love there to be enough glue around the edges because I don't want the edges to come up at all. That's just me. You guys can do however you want to. Not a big deal. And I still have the tape back here, so it's going to help still stick nice and even here. So kind of eyeball where you want it and tack it down and press it. I'm just going to press this down really good because I need to cut it off. See that? I'm just going and snip that off. Okay, now the girl. Actually, I'm going to tack this down because I need to get the bow down. So I'm going to add some matte accents to the very back of the bow. And then I'm going to set it down. Right there. So while that dries, make sure it's pressed down. It's a little smaller than the other bow, but it's okay. So there's those two together. Now for the photo corners, I'm gonna just add some glossy accents to this back side because I want the print part to show since she stamped on the solid. Okay. There's that piece there. And I got it on the on different sides this time. Did I? No, I didn't. Never mind. I was thinking of it, but I already folded these corners up, so. And just press it down. Okay, so that's gonna go there. See how this is coming together now? It's kind of cool, it'd be in different colors. Okay. So with these, I just did a different layer. Like, okay, I got a solid, and then I'm gonna put some of the print side up, and the petals are gonna alternate. Oops! Oh my gosh, they're so tiny though. Okay, that's fine. And then do a printed, and then a solid. And let that sit for a little bit, and then again, well, whichever you want, actually, it doesn't really matter. You'll have two of the same, unless you want more flowers, then you just punch some more out. And then if you don't want to do flowers, you can always do like the buttons. So I'm gonna end up using these pearls here. So I'm gonna add a dab. Dab of glue, let that dry. Dab of glue, let that dry. Little pearl there. They're so whimsy looking because the flowers are so tiny. I'm sorry this is turning into a longer video, you guys, but can't edit it with this camera, and I already have everything kind of cut out. So okay, that piece is done, and then on this other piece of cardstock, I can do a different stamp. Now I'm going to use this one. I took off the flower a long time ago, and I think I'm going to use a vintage photo though, because it'll show up a lot better. And then I'll just cut it out and use it where I have the congratulations on the other one, and set it down for the other card. in that same corner. And it can just be a card that I send a gift with if I want. Just depends on what I want it for. And another little, since I'm freehanding it, it is, it's, you can probably see a little bit of crookedness, but well, not too much, I guess. Then I can still do, round the corners, and I think I'll just do the two opposite ends. Maybe that'll work out okay. So while the flowers are drying, let's glue her down, and she can go in this top corner here. I think that'll look nice. Okay, so ATG again. Whoa. Okay. Okay, so she's all there. And it's going to overlap too on the craft paper. You see it's not completely into the base part. So we'll just tape her down or tack her down. Those sides will be up like that. So it has that look. And then this, actually I don't think I want to distress that. I think I want to just ink the edges a little bit so it has a more defined grain edge. Now, I didn't think some of this stuff up. It just came up now. So know that when I did the first one, it took me a while. It took me a while to do. I just didn't know what to do because I got stuck. So this seems good enough to me. I really like this. And let's see. Actually, I can move it there and just put the flowers down there. Or set it right on top. See, I'll have to cut it down some more because it's too tall to me. Yeah, I think that'll be better. Let's see. So this happens every now and again. For you. No, that's not a bad card. It's just not gonna, the twine won't show just on that section there, so that's not a big deal. And this will help with holding the twine down. Okay, I'm just gonna tack it down there. Not a big deal. You'll see the rope a little bit, but that's whatever. It's okay. And oops. Yeah, that's gonna come off. All right, I'm gonna change the plans real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and just use some wind buttons. Can use a couple. I think a couple would be great. Maybe a little one if I can get them to come out. Here's a little one. Actually, let's. Okay, 3 different kinds right there. You can actually do 1 there and 2 up there. That can work. I can add flowers later too. So just to matte accents. And you can always thread these if you want to. You don't have to. So it'll just sit there and dry. Okay. I think that'll be cute. And I am just going to set these on here just so that they'll start drying. I'm going to bunch them up here on the top part of the card. And then I'll mess with the petals later once it's adhered nice and dry and tight. Ooh. And then another spot of glue there. And then there's the bundle of flowers together. And basically that's it. There's a complete card there. And if you have any questions, you guys let me know. I'm going to send this out today, and I guess I'm just going to send that to another friend. All right, you guys, talk to you later. Jules signing out. Bye.